Wait. We're gonna do a little audio test here. Take a look at our caption. Testing, 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 testing. You guys got a hot mic, heads up. Okay. I know they're not doing anything.
Just talking about motorcycles.
Sweet. Everyone, I've seen like all these fun little things running around. I have to regulate them.
All right, thanks everyone for being here. We are gonna call this meeting in order, where it's at 4:01, and let's do a brief roll call.
Britt Hornsby, Spencer Wade,
Josh Ewing,
Jennifer Davila.
Erin Nelson serving as town manager.
Leah Collins, Administrative Director.
thank you. And Gary is on the road today. He's gonna try to call in if he gets cell phone service. Don't see him online yet. But we may, we'll likely be proceeding mostly without him today. We had some interaction with him on text and so forth. Dealing with some family stuff. We'll open it up for public comment. If there's anyone here from the public that would like to make a comment, or if we got anybody online, if we have folks online that would like to make a comment, go ahead and make a comment in the chat that you'd like to, or raise your hand. Anybody here want to make a public comment? All right, if someone speaks up late, we'll figure it out. But we'll skip the public comment. We've got two sets of minutes to take a look at that were in your packet, one from March 10th and one from March 17th. I took a look. I did not catch anything that needed correcting. Anybody else see anything that we need to revise?
No, not me.
So hearing no changes, let's go ahead and vote to approve both of those sets of minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we've got those passed. We've got two public hearings we're gonna cover tonight. So these are some of my first public hearings to go, so you guys can help me out. I also will just give a little bit. This will be a team effort in keeping us on today. I got called out on fire call last night. I'm a little sleep deprived, so if I don't get the procedure right, help me out, those who've been doing this longer than me. Anyway, we need to vote to go into a public hearing. Our first public hearing is about our proposed amendments to the fiscal 26 budget. All in favor of moving into a public hearing? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're gonna be in a public hearing on the fiscal 26 budget. And I'll ask Erin, if you can, to give us a little bit of some of the, I guess we'll call it highlights of what is proposed. That we are taking public comment on in the public hearing. We've discussed this previously at a couple of different meetings. And I don't think that there is anything really substantial from what we previously discussed. But for the purposes of the record and so forth, maybe Erin, you can give a little bit overview.
And I will also, so we moved into public hearing at 4:04 PM. I'll do one more roll call, or we'll do one more roll call if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. thanks, guys.
Britt Hornsby, Spencer Wade,
Josh Ewing.
Jennifer Davila.
Erin Nelson serving as town manager, and Gary is still not present, excuse absence. All right, so proposed amendment for the fiscal year 2026 budget. This budget expires or ends June of this year. We have, as Josh mentioned, we have already talked about a lot of it. You'll note that there are two drafts on the public notice portion of our website. So the original one was published back on the 20th, and then I have a slight update as of today. So I'm going to walk through those little items in red. It's nothing substantial, but just, facts change. We've had some changes to the data, so I wanted to make sure that we are looking at like the most up-to-date stuff. And then before this budget officially gets passed, there will be, additional, the actuals will change based off of the closest data available. So our biggest change that we're looking at would be An increase in tax revenue, projected increase in tax revenue. We will check this again before everything is approved. I did not get in and check the numbers today from February, but I'll send those out to council, but I don't have that report yet. Moving down, changes to the roads department. Michael was able to verify that the matching road grant for 2026 is $110,205. So with that increase, we've got some changes to the overall revenues. So you'll see those total revenues coming in at $1,131,694. You'll see that number again when we get to the expenditures, because of course we want to see that balanced budget. Again, the biggest changes the projected budget versus our new proposed updated budget really have to do with the taxes and that interlocal match or the match for the San Juan County Board. Moving along to expenditures, slight increase for the airport that is directly related to airport insurance. Some changes today regarding office supplies. Had some more toner purchases and just a few other things as we have more and more people in the office. And we've got some nice chairs. Thank you all. Thank you, previous council, for bringing that up. So I have that most recent projection there. Also got good news. Immediately after the meeting, we actually were billed by San Juan County for election expenses. And it came in even under my $5,000 projection. So that $34.19 is the actual cost, which you'll see once all that goes through. So total administration is just under $400,000. That's including all things like legal and your administration team. We've got IT in there. We've got the building department. So quite a lot under that particular heading. And we are seeing an increase because this also includes additional funds for consulting services, specifically regarding secondary water and housing, with the thought that we can move forward, you all can move forward with some of your 2026 calendar year goals, those big five that you're looking at. So that's really where we're seeing that increase, would be those potential consulting expenses. Any questions there before I move down? Right. Roads department, biggest change here is that we have lots of additional matching funds. Go, Michael. So the proposed changes do increase with looking at additional supplies, equipment, supplies, and maintenance. You should be seeing lots of work happening out on our roads. So that's what you're seeing there. For the parks, that's our facilities, the CCC building. We're seeing a net decrease because we will not be getting to any kind of roof replacement or solar stuff here this year, as well as I think that lighting project we're potentially kicking into next fiscal year, potentially. So that's the decrease there. We can still expect to see some additional items coming in from the actuals. We've got cemetery broken out. While we do have a $10,000 grant, there's also some matching funds. Note that there are also some administrative fees that are contributing to the cemetery, but aren't necessarily marked here. So time spent by the clerk doing research, or our legal team doing preparation for deeds and stuff, that is going to fall under general administration, and is not going to go directly under the cemetery line item
In the budget.
in the budget. But for grants and things like that, we'll say that those are like in kind or money spent.
Right.
That comes down to our transfers. So this is the fund balance. So even with all of that good stuff happening, roads has a projected almost $31,000 that will go to next year's budget. And the general fund will have $138,734 going to next year's budget, which again brings us to 1.1 million in revenues and expenditures. There is also a little bit of information on capital projects, notably just this is the money available there. And then we also have the special revenue fund with the Cooperative Cultural Center renovation project. We've talked a lot about those grants, but if anyone has any questions, they can let me know. That's kind of my overview for folks, for the council and for the public. Josh, if you wanna, open it up, I do have one, individual who's indicated they'd like to make a public comment. And then I guess for folks online, if you're interested in making a public comment in this public hearing on our proposed amendments to the fiscal year 2026 budget, please please raise your hand or put your name in the chat box.
Good deal. Right now we've got Linda as the one person that signed up to make a comment on, the proposed budget. If anyone else wants to, let us know, but Linda, let us know what you're thinking.
My name is Rhoda Sosa, and I looked over the amended budget, and it looked really good. I mean, it's a ton of work. And,
You would know.
yes, yes. So then I looked in revenue, because I wanted to see how much the EMT's final amount was for their fundraiser. Because I know it was over 4,000. And it's not on here. But if you look at 3802.2, it says private public safety. And my comment is, if you do a specific fundraiser for donations from the public, it needs to go to who you've asked or who you're raising funds for. If you want to change it to public safety, that's something you would definitely do for the next budget year. I mean, you talk about it and change it, but you can't just change. I mean, if this was not donations, you could change things. But it's donations. People have donated a ton of money for fire, for EMTs every year. 3,000, 4,000 plus. If you change it to something else, people will lose faith and they're not going to be wanting to give big donations.
Linda, can I ask a clarifying question from you?
Uh-huh.
Is your concern that line 3802.2 that has 4,784 for that fundraiser, that it says public safety instead of saying EMS?
Right.
So
That's it.
Your thought is that by changing it to say public safety, it's no longer intended for EMS? Is that the concern you're raising?
It was done for EMS, it needs to be for EMS. If you want to change it so that next year it's public safety, something broader, that would be the time. But it was for EMS and the flyer, super clear. EMS, emails, forward, public, or breakfast fundraiser for EMS. You can't go out and sit and ask the public for donations for something and then not put it. I mean, change it. This is changed. And by all means, if you want to do it on the new budget for the coming year, that would be the time to do it. But this needs to say exactly what it's for.
Thanks, Linda. Can I ask a question there? That 4,000, is that the total amount we raised there? Is that intermingled with any other funds? Like at the moment, it's not intermingled. That is the amount we raised at that event.
Mhm. That's correct. Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Anything else, Linda?
No.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else online?
I'm not seeing any other comments online. Kind of a weird view right now, sorry. No, I don't see anyone else for this hearing.
Okay. He even knows what to do with the recorder.
Step back, perfect. Okay,
Cool. I guess with that, let's vote to close the.
sorry, one other, my apologies, one other administrative item.
Yep.
So the public has until, let me double check it.
think it's the 17th.
17th, okay, that's what I was gonna say, but thank you, Malia. So the public has until Friday, April 17th at 5 p.m. to submit any additional comments. They can send an email to office@townofbluffutah.gov. They can write a letter and post it to PO Box 324, or they can drop it off in person. And so all that information is also on the website. But the council will receive public comment on this particular item until the 17th. And then after that, they will make any decisions or changes and then can go on to a regular agenda after that for approval.
So we have
Yes.
10 days, after
10
the
days.
public hearing, there's 10 days before we can vote on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Good deal. Get your comments in if you have any. Okay, with that, now let's vote to close the public hearing. All in favor of closing the public hearing on the fiscal 26 budget? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're closed and out of that. Now turn around. We are gonna have a public hearing about our amended fee schedule. We also need to open a public hearing on that. All in favor of opening a public hearing on the amended fee schedule? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We need a roll call. Sometimes feels a bit bureaucratic to me, but
Spencer Wade.
Josh Ewing.
Jennifer Davila.
Erin Nelson serving as town manager.
Okay, everybody knows who's here now?
Gary's absent.
Yeah, Gary's absent.
Gary's absent.
Sorry, Gary.
And I guess we are opening this public hearing at 4:16. So that is all on the record. And again, we have discussed these kind of in our work sessions and so forth. And I'll ask Erin to do a little bit of overview of the changes we're proposing in the fee schedule.
All right, quick overview would be for the airport. We're just aligning it to the calendar year as opposed to the fiscal year so as to not confuse the public. At this time, we don't have any building and land use changes to permitting, with the exception of some of our administrative stuff. So the minor subdivision and major subdivision, we're putting these more in line with actual cost. Still probably not meeting the actual needs administratively, but given that these will require so much legal review, we're increasing that minor subdivision, proposing to increase it to 600, proposing to increase the major subdivision application to 1,500. We also are proposing to increase plat modifications, right-of-way vacations, alley vacations, boundary line adjustments to $500 up from 200, again, to reflect the need for legal consult as well as staff time to get all of this processed. The same goes for a zoning map amendment application. The text amendment, we're leaving the same at this point in time, but we're proposing an increase to $700 because of the specialty technology, having to go through and do these modifications to the actual maps and getting all the posting done. We are proposing to add cemetery fees, including the actual cost to reserve a plot at 100. That remains the same from the prior cemetery board. At this time, the Bluff Cemetery Board is proposing to keep that same cost. And then grave opening and closing costs would be at cost. The town would be putting together a list of potential vendors for folks to be able to use, and the sexton would coordinate the actual opening and closing, but we would just pass the fee assessed from the vendor on to the friends and family conducting the funeral. We are removing actually, I don't know if we were gonna remove all of the code penalties. At this time, I just have a cross for the land use clearance one. But we talked about, council potentially talked about removing these and just ensuring that they were aligned with ordinances. And then we have our biggest change with the facility rentals. A note that excess cleaning, an additional fee of $40 per incident, we're proposing to charge for both the kitchen as well as any facility rentals. So to align the council's direction of having Bluff specific folks, as well as nonprofits have a more standardized fee schedule. This would enable us to charge a set rate. There are no additional cleaning fees or anything like that, except for if they need an excessive cleaning fee. So all of those are listed there. And then we also, there was one change today. We have purchased new folding chairs that are similar to the ones that the Beak and Recapture Lodge have. And so if someone wants to rent those off-site and needs like additional chairs in town off-site, it's $1 per chair per day. So Malia reminded me of that one. Alrighty, so that's my recap. Any questions from council first? Any clarification needed? Okay.
Just to kind of reiterate what you said, a lot of this stuff is just amendments to get closer to our actual costs for a lot of our expenditures for these items, right? Like this, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the big one is the change to simplify the fees for renting the building out, where like we just got simpler. I think, we're not seeing this as like some sort of like revenue generator, but actually like something hoping to make this less of a time suck on the staff and then probably net with what we were doing before, but make it simpler for the public and so forth. So hopefully it's easier for everybody. All right, don't see anybody here. Double checking, nobody here to make a public comment. How about online? Do we have anybody here on our fee schedule changes?
I'm not seeing anyone online. Again, you have until April 17th at 5 p.m. to submit any written feedback through those same avenues. You can send an email to office@townofbluff.utah.gov. You can send mail to PO Box 324, Bluff, Utah, or you can drop it off in person and we will distribute it to the council members for consideration.
All right, good deal. Let's go ahead and vote to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are out of the public hearing.
And it's 4:22 p.m. Perfect.
Okay. Thanks for coming to the public hearing, folks. Okay, we have some more kind of procedural things that we have to handle. And one of them is opening up bids for the asbestos mitigation. Over at the Cooperative Cultural Center. Real quick, while I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna notify you guys of something that we kind of decided to do, which is to change the name of that project over there. Part of this was we were talking to CERTA and we were talking to government officials. We really thought in talking to everybody that framing it as the Bluff Rural Innovation and Civic Center would be a better positioning than the rural innovation piece, less confusing with this building. So the acronym, conveniently comes out to be the BRIC. But anyway, so if you're seeing applications and so forth that reference the BRIC, that the Bluff Rural Innovation and Civic Center, that's kind of what we're calling it now. I ran that by Senator Curtis when I DC last week, and that seemed to kind of perk up his ears, the rural innovation piece. So as well as some other folks that I met with, that was a tag team, and that was not my idea. That was a tag team effort of the staff here. So I think that's good for those purposes. So
The holdover from the old agreement, basically.
Yeah.
right, so now and we can, in the future, when we decide what letters to put on the building, we can figure out that also, but for now, let's talk about
Yes, exactly.
asbestos at the brick house.
Yes.
Also, kind of a brick building.
It's a lot of brick.
Absolutely. Anyway, great job, team. I think it's been,
So do we get, is this like Christmas when we get to open things?
Yes.
This is Christmas.
Oh, or it's digital Christmas. Oh,
Yeah,
it's digital Christmas.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
The good news is we had 7 bids
Okay.
for asbestos, and quite a few of them are on here today. So hello, our bidders. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. So what we're going to do, I'm going to open them in order, and then Aaron, I'll say the name and their grand total, and then I'll put all of these bids into your agenda packets for this Thursday at 5:00 PM, when you will actually award it. So this is just an over.
Apologize in advance, this just came up today, but in order to stay on track,
Fine.
we need to call a special meeting.
Yeah.
Which I will actually not be here because I will be on the rivers. But I will coordinate with staff in advance, and if I have any concerns, I'll let you guys know, but, or
Perfect, thank you, thank
We
you.
appreciate everyone's flexibility to
Yes.
try to keep Malia on, I mean, Malia has worked very hard to keep herself on timeline, and so thank you for helping her with that.
Okay, so it's gonna take me a little bit to pull each one up because I am opening them right now. The first one is from Greenway Industries. The price, I'll send it all out. And so you can review all of them. I'm just gonna try to go through this quickly. Their price for the asbestos abatement is $85,032. And that looks like it's broken down pretty well. And like I said, I'll include all of this in your bid packets or agenda packets for Thursday.
And just a quick note, I'm so sorry. So while you're sharing the names and the total bid, if there's anything that catches Malia's eye, she's going through that would result in like an unqualified bid, she'll let us know today. But otherwise, we would go through that on Thursday. There are multiple items in the RFP that we requested, these, awesome bidders to supply, and so.
Yes.
We'll make sure that all of those pieces are in order, but we won't, you know, if you, for some reason, don't hear something today and then we announce something on Thursday, that's just because we're doing our due diligence there. So, yes, awesome. Okay, so vendor number one,
Yep.
Greenway Industries, I have $85,032.
Correct.
Okay, thank
And
you.
this one was not turned in on that attachment, that bid form.
Okay.
So it made it a little bit longer for me to look at, but we'll go through and continue. Number two is DRL Enterprises. This one is, let me see if there's another. Here it is. So this one. Final bid pricing is referred to the attachments. Okay. Estimated price, $36,924.
I have DRL Enterprises at $36,924.
Correct.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Number three is Eagle Environmental Inc. With their total amount at $203,657. And then $195,167 without bonding.
Would you repeat those two totals one more time?
Yes, $203,657. And then without bonding, $195,167.
All right, I have Eagle Environmental Inc. at $203,657 or $195,167 without bonding.
Fabulous, thank you. Alrighty. Number four is TLC abatement. With okay, with our grand total at 65,000.
I have TLC abatement at $65,000 even.
Yes, and it looks like we also got a price without bonding
Okay,
at 61,000.
61,000 without bonds. Okay, thank you.
And then guaranteed clean air. Environmental. Total estimate 54,400.
54,500. 400.
Yes.
Thank you. I have guaranteed clean air environmental at 54,400.
Yes. Peak Environmental, we are on number 6, you're doing great, everybody. Peak Environmental at 64,300.
Peak Environmental at 64,300.
Correct. And then our last one is Diamond Abatement. At 75,860.
I have Diamond Abatement at $75,860.
Correct.
Excellent.
And those are our 7. Woohoo!
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
So. I'm assuming we don't have to go with the lowest bid if, you know, like there is a process of like, did they meet the qualifications? Are they doing everything we wanted to do? There's a quality factor that goes in, but cost is a significant or the most significant weighting factor.
Yes, so the way that I actually, let me pull up our RFP real quick because we have an evaluation
The
criteria.
scoring is in.
And so within that evaluation criteria says how much we are, so price itself is 50% of our.
Other scoring criteria.
And
So what you're gonna do next, before the meeting on Thursday, is you're gonna go through and look at what is submitted and compare it to that scoring rubric,
Yes.
and then make a recommendation to us as to what the best bid is.
Yes,
Are we planning on having a TRC Thursday?
I'm gonna be in a conference on Thursday.
And I can meet with you all.
Yeah, or
we
maybe
could-
tomorrow if you
Yeah,
guys
I
are
was gonna
available
say we
tomorrow.
could do it tomorrow. If I- about it.
Yeah, let's talk more at the end of this meeting.
Okay.
And then I guess the other question that came out for me is, can you explain that? I mean, I know basically what the difference between bonding and not bonding is, but like in this context, why we would be thinking about bonding versus not bonding?
Aaron, will you answer this one?
Per legal counsel, if contracts are exceeding a certain dollar threshold, we do want to ensure that we've got bonding. The typical amount that we've been looking at is around $30,000 to $40,000. So when we put out the RFP, it was indicated that we wanted them to provide their pricing with bonding. Essentially, there are a couple different, there's a performance bond, and a payment bond, which essentially is ensuring that the work is done, and then they're also paying their vendors and paying their employees that, you know, if the work is happening. And again, after a certain dollar threshold, that's when our legal counsel is requesting that the contracts include that. In this RFP, there is a contract, a drafted contract. So each of these vendors would have also seen that as to what we're requiring of them to sign on if they were awarded this bid.
So the ones that didn't have with or without bonding, they probably are, but we'll have to confirm that they're saying that in their proposals.
Yeah, I'll do some more digging. There was a lot of detail in each of these bids, and so I'll go through and dig a little deeper.
Okay,
Yes.
anything else on the opening of those bids? Should we, while we're at it, should we schedule when you guys are gonna meet on Thursday and stuff?
I think at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, so special meeting at 5 o'clock. And then from an administrative perspective, if members of the design review committee want to take a look at them in depth, not having a whole council together, you all can coordinate a time. But yeah, we'll do a 5 o'clock special meeting. Malia's already sent out that meeting link. We're gonna use the town council link to these bidders so they can join us. And yeah, at that time, we would have that council vote to approve. If for some reason Malia needed additional information, and we had to push it back, we can definitely do that. But ideally, we'd have a contract this week. So.
Okay, so Brett, you're up for taking the lead on that meeting.
Yep, that's fine. Let's make sure Gary knows.
Yeah, I did. He should be fine. Yeah. I just want to thank all the folks who joined us today. We really appreciate you submitting your bids. Thank you to Malia for all of her hard work getting all of this done. We're very excited to see this completed because it's been on our minds for a while. So,
And
yeah,
I have one more thing on special meetings. There's gonna be one more special meeting in May. It's kind of the similar to what this one is, the first week of May. It's gonna be a bid opening of 3 different bids, fire suppression,
Windows.
selective demo, and windows. And so we're gonna open all 3 of those on a Tuesday and then award them all on a Thursday so that we don't have to do this month after month. So try combining all of those, but that should be the last time we have to do that. Fingers crossed.
And I will say, I've talked to Aaron, I wanna work on this process and figure out like. What our legal requirements are for these, and if like some of them, we could delegate some of this to staff. In ordinance and then not, you know. Always have to take up meetings with contracts and stuff like that, so we'll be looking into that, but for now, just to like. Make sure we're on the total up and up with everything, we're gonna move forward this process.
Well, and part of our reason for wanting to do a special meeting to open the other ones is because they're falling at the end of the month. We don't have to wait for 3 weeks until we have another meeting to.
Yeah. And that totally makes sense,
Get
but
going.
like this one, it's like. By doing it Thursday with 4 days in advance and the other 5 days or whatever, but like. If we could, in my view, I mean, just to speak frankly, if. If we're largely relying on a staff recommendation on these anyway, then like. It might make sense for us to just delegate some of these decisions to the staff or to the committee that's doing it versus, taking up the whole time. And like, honestly, are we really improving the quality, like unless each of us are really going through all these proposals, So anyway, that's just all what I wanna, we can figure that out, but.
Yeah, it has been handy to have people bounce questions in the past, I mean, you might think of something that the rest of us didn't think of, and so. I don't know,
And I feel comfortable doing these as needed when it's like spending money and stuff, like where it became aggravating was when it was like, oh, we're having to do it because we were like a month behind on some. Policy process or whatever, get the budget turned in or whatever, that's when it becomes frustrating, that's when it's happening.
Yeah.
So.
and especially when it's big amounts of money too, these have the potential of being.
And that was my last question on this item before we go on. What do we have in our project plan budget for asbestos removal?
I believe 40,000. But, we've made amendments with GoYo before.
Yeah.
We can make amendments again.
Well, or if we have to spend our own money and not go in money. Okay, let's move on to our next item, which is to talk about the idling ordinance. I would say if you looked at this ordinance in your packet, it appears there's a lot of changes. I don't think there are like substantial changes to like the spirit of what we previously discussed. But thankfully, Aaron talked to Chris, our attorney, and also did quite a bit of research, and unsurprisingly, Utah has some kind of, limits on what local governments can do because we don't know what's good for our communities and, shocked that they might preempt us. But anyway, they must not like people like being too harsh about idling.
Yeah.
And so there's some language in there now about it being primarily about education and that you don't get a fine on the first offense. It's kind of fine on the second offense. There's also a maximum fine, I think before we were talking like up to 500 and is actually a maximum, so it's fine in the state law of $110.
Yeah, their recommendation is like 110. If there are subsequent ones, like we can charge more, but again, the first one's a warning, it's just like, warning. Then, in talking with Chris, he specifically said that our fees should kind of align to the state guidelines. So I've linked that, which is a fairly lengthy document, but a lot of these like non-moving vehicle traffic violation things are about $110. So, yeah.
Which, you know, to me, I think is fine. I mean, like, honestly, no one's gonna know we have an idling ordinance until we like put up some signs or something. Like, we're gonna have to do some of that. But, and do some, you know, some public education, but at least like, passing this ordinance, we have it on the books, and then we have to start doing some education and. You know, in my view, it'd be like. For now, the way we would use this would be if we have somebody that's like repeatedly parking in front of a business. You know, not being good, we could have the business owner call us and we'd have something on the books where I could go over there and be like, hey. Sorry, but you're gonna need to move on because we've got an ordinance and like, I'm gonna give you your first warning on this, or you know, something like that.
Turn your vehicle off.
Yeah, or yeah, they turn off the radio, right? So,
So I got a question just about like
Yeah.
enforcement with that kind of thing. I mean, I definitely think the first time you go over and chat to him is totally fine for you. It's like the second time, or if it becomes a problem, is it more like a thing to bump to the sheriff to handle, or just wondering?
yeah, so, I've actually been trading, voicemails for 2 weeks now with the sheriff on this. They're on both this ordinance and the one we're gonna talk about next, kind of the enforcement piece. We've got to kind of figure out how it actually would work, but let's just say for a moment. They're written a ticket. How does that ticket actually work? You know, going through the San Juan County Justice Court, because we don't have a justice court.
Yeah.
That part we still need to figure out, so I need to talk to the sheriff about it. But our thinking in talking to Chris and our thinking is. It doesn't hurt us to get these on the books.
Oh, yeah,
We
totally.
can particularly start doing public education, particularly on the engine brake ordinance,
Yeah.
like. Once we have it one on the books, we can request like one of those flashing road signs from the county and we could start actually really. Doing some education about it, and we're starting the process of telling particularly the residents that these things are important enough to us that we pass it. But we do have to kind of still figure out exactly how it will go. But the sheriff, when we talked to him. I don't know if it was in our meeting with everybody or when Gary and I met with him separately, it was like, they enforce engine braking ordinances in other places. The idling, I think, you know, like, I could see a sheriff being like, is that really our thing? I would think, you know, but it is if it became a problem with a certain repeat offender and we called up the sheriffs, like, I know, you know, I gotta imagine they would help us out.
And you would know pretty quickly when you approached him, if it was gonna be a sheriff
If this
call or
is,
not.
this is I'm calling the sheriff, sort of the deal, like,
I'll call the sheriff.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. Just wondering, because I know enforcement's been continued questioning some of this, so. And we had heard about engine brakes that they had to have it before they could. enforce
Engine
it.
brakes and dogs were the two that said we had to have ordinances on the books to enforce.
And this does ultimately get to like further conversations with San Juan County and like how we want to go about enforcement with like either. More formalized agreements with them regarding. Right now, I think if they're issuing a citation for like speeding, for example, it all goes through like their court process and there has to be an appeals process, yada, yada, yada. Clearly, we don't have any of that set up internally. But what Chris said is that even with that being the case, have the ordinances and then you've got the goal, you've got the finish line of like, here's where we're gonna go ultimately. And he just wanted to make sure that like the penalties are not or the penalties align to what the state is willing to do. And so I would think that a conversation with San Juan County Sheriff could look very similar. So like, hey, whatever you're doing for speeding tickets, this is, potentially what you could do for, especially then, right? So.
But my guess is, in the history of the town of Bluff, the sheriff's department have never actually enforced something that was a Bluff ordinance, right? They were enforcing a state law, right, or a federal, well, it would have to be a state law for them, or, right? Speeding on the highway, breaking into someone's house or something like that. But we're entering into a new realm where these are rules that don't apply anywhere else necessarily. And so we're gonna have to figure that out. So, I'll talk to the sheriff. And then we'll probably have to talk to the county too, and bringing in stuff like maybe there's an interlocal agreement with the county justice, justice court or something like that.
Yeah, and that'll help answer questions that like P and Z had about basic enforcement and stuff, so.
Yeah, cool. I will say, I'm guessing that there will be a distinction between things like this that are like motor vehicle stuff and a P and Z thing, because in my experience in other places, a P and Z infraction doesn't largely go to a justice court. It's a different type of deal. So there may be that there's still a distinction between like engine braking,
Okay.
even though they're both ordered engine braking and you didn't do your setbacks.
Gotcha.
Enforcement, yeah, code enforcement is
Okay.
likely to be kind of different than like code enforcement. Cool. But I got a lot to learn on that.
Well, I'm not surprised to hear that they already had a state law, you know.
Yeah, and really, you know, the changes, Josh, I mean, there's a lot of red in the red line. I did just kind of change the definitions to kind of match what state is doing, changed motor vehicle to ground transportation vehicle. That's just kind of like the commonly used word. The main changes are the applicability, so we can't just say anywhere, it has to either be public property or private property that is open to the public. So, for example, a restaurant is private property, it's my property, for example, or a hotel, it's your property, but it's open to the public. So those are the two areas that can be enforced. So what I did was I used the language of this ordinance may be enforced in commercial and residential zones on public and private property open to the general public.
If you recall, we did that to get her to make it so that like this isn't applying like out at the 191 junction, which would be agricultural zoned agriculture, not commercial.
This also combats the I'm just warming up my car in the morning before I go to
Yeah.
school.
Exactly.
And
And
up
as,
the school bus before I go to school.
right,
Vehicle, there's some times where you might want to, I won't, so.
Cool.
so those are the major changes. Did you have anything else you saw? And I did try to link as much of the code as possible, so you could see like why I made the changes, proposed changes that I did.
Like I say, having looked at it, you know, what Erin suggested, I'm just really appreciative she did that. And then, you know, I don't feel like a change will be talked about. I'd be comfortable on voting for it today. I'd also be very comfortable if folks would like more time to look at all the red lines. You guys feel good voting?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion on it?
No.
All right. Because it's an ordinance, we do need a roll call vote. So Britt?
Yay.
Yay. Josh, yes?
Yes.
So the ordinance passes on a vote of 4-0 with Gary absent. We'll move on to the next ordinance, which we talked a little bit about, but engine braking. You know, on this one, I feel, you know, honestly, more urgency on this. We're getting complaints from neighbors, particularly folks that live close to the highway. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but it seems to be maybe an increasing problem. And I'd like to get on, you know, getting some signs, you know, flashing signs and maybe a little bit of warning enforcement that the sheriffs can do and get the message out there that this isn't a town that people should be engine braking in. So remind me, Aaron, what did we change on this one? It wasn't as much as the idling one. There wasn't quite as much preemption on this one.
correct.
But there were still a few quick things that we wanted to.
Yeah, then, you know, just kind of comparing it to some other ones. One of the things that I saw frequently used was unmuffled engine brake versus engine brake. Now, I personally do not know enough technically about if that is enough of a difference to really decrease the decibel level. But in my little bit of research, it was talking about how you're targeting the noise, not the braking function itself, because the braking function itself is supposed to be used in case of an emergency. So we don't want to ban or prohibit use, but just regulate the use of an engine brake. So that was kind of the language that we wanted to move towards. Because the exemptions are specifically about emergency vehicles using it to protect, public safety, or where they would have to, comply with state or federal safety requirements. And so, what I was seeing was that, we don't want to use the word ban, we don't want to use prohibit, but we're regulating the use of it. And specifically, we're regulating, the noise. Now, again, I don't know enough about muffled versus unmuffled, and so I don't know if we need additional opinion on that, or if you just want to go to engine brake, because that's just standardly known, and like all the other exemptions still apply, that like, if you have to use it for a safety reason, you're gonna use it.
Just a quick Google search, it looks like it's about a 20 decibel difference. And this is saying that's about 4 times louder, having the extra 20 decibels, so it is significantly quieter.
And I'm personally fine with keeping it just engine brake. And then, I mean, I'm fine with that.
Cause then, I mean, and then if we have language in there that it's for emergency, and then they're still gonna use it if they have to. But it'll be significantly less use.
Cause it is pretty unbelievable sometimes, like coming out of that canyon.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It just funnels it and it's wild sometimes, so.
Also, I wonder if we can, I mean, I think that certainly having a sign up at the top of the canyon, engine brake, engine brake law enforced or whatever, but I also think that maybe we could probably do a better job of reducing speed somehow up there. So people don't get to that hill and freak out.
That was actually gonna be my question. I know we had talked about, dropping the speed limit to, 35, 35, right? You Dot said we could do that, 35.
Well, they said we were, that we had gone through most of the process, and then I emailed to follow up about it, and my email bounced back, and I tried again, and I haven't heard back, so I wonder if maybe I need to email somebody different. But anyway, theoretically, that process is still moving, but we haven't got the final notice of it yet.
Cause I agree, like, if you were able to slow down on top of the hill, then you wouldn't be slowing down mid-hill like people, I mean, especially they don't know what's going on, but.
Or even,
I don't know if we're gonna get anybody to go down the hill going 35.
Yeah.
But,
Well, but like, I think, like, I would, if I was traffic engineer God, I would put like 50 or 55 at the top of the hill. And then, so like, if you start earlier to be warned, you need to slow down.
It is reduced. Where does the reduction right now starts at?
It's not
Bluff
too,
Dwellings?
it's not Bluff, it's 50 at Bluff Dwellings, so
Yeah.
it's 65 in the
Yeah.
whole canyon. So then you hit Bluff Dwellings, and to go to 65 to 50, you don't
Yeah.
have a lot of time, and then go, 50
Down
to 35 or
Yeah.
50,
To 40 right now, yeah.
well, and what if we even did like. We work towards having a sign that said trucks must reduce speed, like to a certain point. Just like a sign with the engine brake sign, letting them know that it is a steep hill going in.
It all will be coordinated with UDOT, because it is technically their road. But yeah, definitely, and I think that you will have, like, just having that engine brake sign, whether it says.
Yeah.
Muffled, or whether you all decide muffled or unmuffled, just like the sign of like engine brake ordinance enforced is going to, no one's gonna be like, oh, what's the ordinance here? I am a trucker who's here, like,
Yeah.
maybe,
The problem is the signs are already there and they're not doing it.
Yeah.
So, or at least there is a sign there already, at least on that side for sure. I don't
No, I
know, I
think-
imagine there's one up there
I
too.
think there is.
An engine brake sign?
There used to be.
No,
No, I don't think so.
there is one on this side of town. Well, then we definitely need to get one up there, but it, like. I think we're gonna have to do multiple things.
Yeah.
But like, I'm oddball for like a flashing one, and then, temporarily get the big sign from the county and.
Yeah, and I'm just, asking like, enforcement's awesome, be great, like, anything we can do to just mitigate.
We have to be careful what we ask for though, because if you'll remember when we came on council, there was the proposal of putting the roundabout in at the,
Okay.
261 junction, which is insane. It would slow traffic, but it's gonna cause an accident, so.
Yeah.
So we want to be
Michael,
careful.
thought?
I mean, other signs I've seen around the county, they say, you know, no engine braking for the next 2 months. There's 3 months,
Yeah.
something like that. The Bluff is like 2 months, Bluff, downtown Bluff is like two months.
Yeah, so I mean, if we pass this ordinance, it'll be another good excuse for us to get a hold of UDOT and check on the speed limit and then check on making some more signage on this front. So, you know, fewer changes on this one. Again, I kind of feel comfortable voting on it. How do you guys feel? Okay, any further discussion or?
Just clarification, do you want any of the unmuffled removed?
I say we just stick with no engine brake.
Okay,
So get rid of
Get
muffled.
rid of unmuffled.
Get rid of unmuffled.
Non-muffled.
Yeah.
so I'm gonna just real fast make sure that I have.
Yeah, my thought is like, if it is muffled and it's that much of a reduction, we're probably, you know, the sheriffs are probably not gonna stop them anyway, you know what I mean?
They'd have a conversation with.
Yeah. And who knows, even with that much of a reduction, it might still be pretty loud in the canyon there.
Right.
So if we just have it flat, like,
I'm sure those businesses would appreciate it.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
I guess the vote I'll call for is a vote to pass this ordinance, removing the adjective unmuffled in front of engine braking wherever it appears. Britt,
Yes.
Spencer?
real quick, sorry,
Yep.
with that. I mean, didn't we talk about potentially just leaving that in here, but then just not including it on the sign? Or,
No, removing it from the ordinance.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Josh, yes?
Yes,
And Jenny, yes. Okay, so, the vote to pass the engine braking ordinance passes us, 4-0, and I'll sign that when we're done. Okay, moving ordinances forward. And I do think, you know, Aaron will have to get together, like, what can we do to make these ordinances real, but particularly the engine braking one? And when I talked to the sheriff and back and asked him about who at the county we talked to about the flashing sign and some of that too, as well as following up with UDOT. Okay. Next item is the policies for board advisory boards that do not make monetary or policy decisions, but are advisory only, as we talked about before. And so in your packet, there is a red line. The most significant change is to take away the phrase that says these advisory meetings have to all be open public, you know, OPMA meetings. Anything else super substantial to call to?
this one does have to be passed with a resolution, so you'll see the drafted resolution, which effectively states, hey, that resolution that was passed on January 5th, null and void, here's the new resolution. I think everything else we had talked about, so in the red line, the items that we had talked about, I did strike. So the clean version should have all of that. Have a little town manager can contact the town attorney, and yeah, I don't think there was anything else that we didn't already discuss in the work session. This was more of I don't think I even added anything. I don't know, sorry, I did not add anything else that was not discussed.
So everybody feel comfortable voting on the resolution to change the advisory board policy? Pretty good on that? Okay, no further discussion? All right, Britt,
Yes.
Spencer?
Yes.
Josh says yes,
yes,
and Jen, yes. So the policies are amended on a 4-0 vote. That's resolution number 99.
Rock and roll.
Okay, some new business. Sorry for making you sit around this whole time, Michael, but appreciate your help. We're gonna have you help us with a bit of a discussion on changes to the road manifest. as you guys will remember, this is what we submit to the state each year that helps determine how much Class C road funds we get. And we can amend it. Am I correct? We can amend it more than once a year, but it's best practice to do it once a year.
Yes, I mean, that's what they recommend, but you know, there's a big change one way. You know, an uptick in roads or a downtick. Yeah, you know. We should change it. You know, right now, what this represents is primarily the roads that were part of the disconnect up on the bluff, 3.3 miles of dirt roads. And we've added some paved roads. So we've added, you know, a little over half a mile of paved roads.
And that's from the asphalt,
That's
putting
from
down the asphalt now
recycled
counts.
asphalt surface qualifies as a paved road. According to the rules. And, I mentioned we lost 3.3 miles of dirt roads. We added a quarter mile of gravel road. And so the total loss is 2.47 miles.
Michael, did we not lose any paved roads with the? Okay.
No, that was all dirt.
Cause the paved
Because
road
it's-
is still in the town per the agreement.
Yeah, right, yeah. So, you know, just to point out, UDOT, the way they look at this is, the town or municipalities and counties, for a paved road, you get, a weighted average of 5. For a dirt or gravel road, you get a weighted average of 2, and there's a formula they use, it has about 12 factors in it. Bluff, town of Bluff, when you look at other towns of similar size around the state, Bluff gets substantially more than these other municipalities of the same size. And I believe it's because of the sales tax that's generated by this town. That's one factor in the weighted formula.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's about it. Does anybody have any questions? This is not final. So, you know, this is a preliminary best.
Yeah, so we're not voting on this road
No.
manifest today. And this change does not include bringing in roads in the Copper Cliffs.
That's what I was gonna ask.
We're still working on making that formal and needing to get, not necessarily a full survey, but, meets and bounds and stuff from the county surveyor, right?
So I believe this document, the one that I have from you from like February, Michael, right? This one does reflect
Yeah,
Copper
it
Cliffs
does, it
too.
does have prickly pear place and the other one is
Oh, so it's in there for now. So what is the, you know, like, it feels like we don't want to take those on until we actually have title to them. So
Right.
when do we need to file this roads manifest and like, what's the timing like?
and we don't need to file it until the deeds are.
We wanted to kind of get it in front of you all so we could ask questions, identify if we're missing any roads or if there are any, like, if you're adding stuff up. I know we had like some weird calculations last year. And so really just kind of wanted to get it in front of you and make sure that when we get to the point where the deed to the roads for Copper Cliffs 2 is handled, as well as the disconnect is finalized at the Lieutenant Governor's office, that you all would be good to move ahead with this.
Does this incorporate any of our favorite road on the west side of town?
Wait, why?
86th.
It does not have any changes to what was approved in the roads manifest update in 2025. Jen is referring to these dirt roads over in this area with the terminus at the alley down here.
Yeah, that Sixth Street, the south side of Sixth Street is an alley, which the county showed as a road, and when we took over, the town took over the roads, it just remains, you know, it's about money. You know, maintenance money.
So no change from what was originally approved last year. Big changes are gonna be that those Copper Cliffs too. And then there's also, a short.
Fourth Street, you think of Fourth Street East?
Oh, let me get over to that one. Fourth Street East.
What is the yellow indicating?
Those are crowd.
The yellow is a dirt road.
Oh, those are dirt.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
Dirt versus.
We show Willow as dirt, as
Right,
a dirt
yeah.
road, even though there's a portion that has gravel
Okay,
on. Yeah.
and the fourth east is, or actually.
Yeah, that little,
That the road that goes up to Tom and Kelly's?
Yes,
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
by that well.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's why it's.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
Okay. So if I got this right, you're prepping us and basically asking for any feedback. But the plan will be that we don't file the amended manifest with the state until the Copper Cliffs has gone through and the disconnect has gone through.
Yeah, and I would say if administratively, I'm seeing like a really large delay in those two things happening. I would want to ensure that if we're disconnecting land, we are not collecting money for roads through that. So, if those two things don't happen within, maybe like a week or so of each other, and of a meeting, then we might want to submit two different manifests. I just don't, I don't want us to be collecting money on things that we don't have, but I also don't want to submit too many things, so.
yeah, it's more paperwork for the director, I think you got, so.
Yeah.
that-
So do we have is there a normal, like you must submit your road manifest each year at this date?
No,
It's just when it's up, when you update it,
when this changes.
when it changes, yeah, yeah.
Substantial changes, yeah.
Okay.
and
So what you're saying is, say the disconnect went through tomorrow, but it's still another 2 months before we get Copper Cliffs, we might file, yeah.
so is there anything else, since the Simpsons have contacted me directly and asked for follow-up, if they need any follow-up?
So we will schedule the survey. I have talked with Craig that they're willing to pay up to $1,000 of that survey. I don't know, we do a 50% match on the cost up to $1,000 for them. As of right now, it appears that Brad is going.
I spoke to Brad yesterday, he doesn't need to come down to do it. He should have the meets and bounds by next week.
And then he has the summit, he was telling me he would do the cemetery project around the same time,
Yeah,
for that deed as well, so.
They haven't contacted me in the last couple of weeks, but they did ask me that if they needed to do something, that I'd please let them know, so.
So once we have the survey, that survey provides the information to go into the deed transfer.
right.
And then they would sign the deed over to us and we would file it with the county.
And I'd want those on, I would definitely want those on a council meeting, so, transference of land. I can't remember if the one for the other cemetery, that was all like right as the administration was changing, but both of those, I think it's important that we're talking about those in public meetings. So.
Yeah, my understanding from the trainings, the lead trainings, is it's mostly when we get rid of land that there's a lot of process that has to happen.
Definitely.
And this would be more for transparency.
Yeah.
But I think it would be valuable, in case someone from the public has a concern with us taking those roads over
Well,
or something.
we did vote also in December that we would accept the Copper Cliffs road.
Yes,
And, I wouldn't know of any reason why we wouldn't. But,
well,
if someone in the public
no,
feels strongly about it, they can come.
yeah, at one point, the thinking was by the town council that they wanted to see more houses out there, for the tax rate, but, a lot of years have gone by, and so,
Now we've got houses out there and,
yeah.
yeah. There seem to be well-constructed roads that we, what we need. Okay.
And
I
Michael,
have a question, the disconnect, is that already completed legally?
No, we're still waiting. We're still waiting on an exact meets and bounds that's accurate for the disconnect up there, especially around that, the road, the
The 6 foot,
bypass road.
yeah, the 6 foot.
The lieutenant governor has an updated one. I just learned this today. So they're evaluating if it closes. There's something about like the meets and bounds not closing. So once they say it looks good, then in theory, we should get the letter from the lieutenant governor's office. But I was never. There's not a specific timeline that the lieutenant governor's office gives you once they do all of that, so. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, I mean, if things work out well, maybe both of these happen about the same time, we just have it finalized. Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, building department, we've got some kind of changes that happened fairly quickly last week that we want to update you all on and make sure you're in the loop with what's happening. You want to take a lead on that, or you want me to?
Sure, I will. Feel free to chime in.
Yep.
So effective Friday, March 27th, our building official, submitted his immediate resignation from his position. It was a part-time position, but it is a necessary one now that we have a building department. With that, I have reposted for that part-time position, and I am asking for applications, which is a resume, to be submitted to me. My email address is manager@townofbluffutah.gov, no later than Sunday, April 12th at 5 p.m. And then we'll see what submissions we get. I do already have one, which is great. But essentially, this comes down to kind of processes and organizationally, we are small. We have limited bandwidth, and I think there's still there's some confusion from the public as to what's required for building permits. And so from a hiring side of things, that is open. We do have a temporary emergency contract with the city of Landing. Josh executed on that, and I'm just waiting for the counter signature that their building official is able to conduct inspections and site plan reviews while we're filling this position. That's good until May 8th, until we have, and if we have any delays in hiring. So I really appreciate Landing for helping us cover kind of in the interim. But this is a really important position, and just because we don't have someone in the role right now does not mean that people should not be coming and contacting the building department if they need a building permit. All construction, all major renovations have to go through this process. But the public does need to be really aware that we are small. It is not a same day inspection process. That will never happen in the town of Bluff. And so if you are thinking of getting work done, you have to contact us. Our team works really hard to get packed people in a timely manner. Kristen's turnaround is usually 24 to 48 hours, which is really fast given that she's not a full-time employee. She responds on weekends, or she responds at night. Like, she's really on top of it. But in no realm of the imagination will we ever be able to conduct same day inspections. We also do have things, just from a code compliance perspective, that our building official cannot sign off on particular things if they're not up to code. We had talked when we created the building department just over a year ago that we would not be penalizing people for being, for conducting work prior to conducting work prior that maybe didn't meet code, but we're trying to get them in compliance. When it comes to health and human safety, we cannot have people just signing off on things and moving things forward. Like, that's why we have a building department, is so we're doing things by the book. And so, ultimately, if you're receiving direction from our building department, that things have to be brought up to code, you have to comply with that, or you will not be able to receive a building permit. We're not reaching out and penalizing anyone, but when it comes to health and safety, it's really important that we're doing things correctly. I really appreciate all of the time that Corey spent. He really helped us get our policies in place. And so my hope is that Kristen, our administration team, and ultimately the next folks who might come into that building official position will help us continue that. I'll turn it over to Josh if you have anything to add or correct, and then I have one additional update from today, a very interesting phone call that I had with someone, so.
So just needed to make a little clear, we've got a position, like a job announcement out there to hire someone for this. We are also considering working out a long-term intergovernmental agreement with Landing. So we may hire someone to work for us under a W-2, or we may cover this under an interlocal agreement, perhaps with Landing. And so those are two different options we're exploring. Because this is important and people are building and they need inspections, we wanted to kind of pursue both at the same time. So, yeah, just to let you know, like there's two different ways we're going. There could be pros and cons of either one. You know, on the one hand, if we were to work with Landing, you know, we have some comfort that another town in our region is feeling comfortable with the person and the procedure being used there, right? On the other hand, if you hire your own W-2, like it's kind of like they work for you versus like more of a shared sort of deal. So we're gonna explore those in the process and try to come up with the best situation. It may be that there are some budgetary implications going forward. That we may need to cover that we'll have to figure out. We're pretty confident, like in the short term, we're not gonna break the bank with the cost of like Landing doing this emergency covering. But if we had a long-term agreement with Landing, we may need to change like what we charge people. For like plan reviews and inspections and that sort of thing. Yeah, and then I will just say, like, I think as a council, in this process, some of the things that's really come up is just like, we're having a cultural shift from what I would kind of call the Wild West of do anything you want in Bluff to like, hey, we need to meet code and we're gonna have to make a shift in time. For an individual property owner, it can be kind of hard because like, yeah, we're not going around and being like, your plumbing's not done right. But if you come to us and say, we're doing a major renovation on this thing, you're gonna need that thing to meet code. And that's not always gonna be easy for people, and that's been part of the, you know, kind of difficulty of the process. And so I think, you know, as a council, it's gonna be on us to do some investment in public education and staffing. That's gonna maybe cost us more than we bring in for a while, but it's gonna help with this, you know, this transition over time.
In defense of our transition, I have been involved in building in this county for at least 25 years. You have been required to get a building permit for at least 25, if not longer than that, years. So it just in defense of what we're doing, I know that I know that not everybody applies for a building permit and it hasn't been strictly enforced through the county, but technically you have been required to get a building permit for a long time in this county. This is not a new, we're enforcing this as of a year ago.
I think you're right, and it's just like, people were used to not getting in from the county and they still aren't.
They should have been, if they
totally-
skated, then
they
that's
totally-
water under the bridge that we can do nothing about. But this isn't a new concept.
Yeah, and the same thing with, you know, folks that haven't been doing it even since we started,
Yeah.
like, we're really needing to like let people know, like, hey, you've got to get a building permit. And so you're right, it's not a new requirement, but I do think we're just gonna have to work on, spend some money and some time investing in letting people know about these things. And, you know, I just have to say, like, I'm a firefighter, like, you know, we're just not gonna sign off on things that are dangerous. That are somebody's house or building to burn down or something, like, we just can't be doing that. We're liable if we do that. And so like, you know, there's, you know, it can be tough, but I think we've got to make that transition and get people used to it, and hopefully in a few years, folks will be used to it and plan ahead. You know, that planning ahead piece is the, I mean, we're a small town, we can't, I mean, even in Salt Lake County, you're not gonna get a same day inspection, you know, let alone in Bluff, you know.
Well, and Dennis Shumway kind of, was hinting at this when he was down here with the septics, that, it's an issue of things being allowed and, budgeting rules here and there, and that making a huge problem for him when things go wrong.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that to your Wild West point of sometimes it's fudged, so. Yeah,
Well, and ultimately, like, we are trying to provide education, we're trying to get, we're not intending to penalize or make the project more difficult. Ultimately, it is, building code is health and human safety, and ultimately, like, what else is a municipality really here for? It really is health and human safety, it's livability, living in your community, hopefully being able to resell your property at the end of the day, or pass it on to your kids, like, there are a lot of benefits to it, and we've had a very good, like, Kristen has gone above and beyond trying to get back to folks so they have the information that they need. One of the other options, I actually had a very strange cold call today. They must have seen my job posting. There are actually entities out there who they are a building department. And can kind of serve as like a third party. So think of like our IT third party managed services. So I had just like a very quick introductory call with a particular company who reached out to me. The biggest challenge is, of course, we're very rural, but a lot of our stuff actually can be conducted virtually. Our estimates are maybe like 75%. So I'm having them send me just some initial cost stuff. And if it's like way out of the realm, which it very well could be, like clearly that won't ever, that's not an option for us now. But we might look at like, I would present maybe some kind of like hybrid option where, maybe that would reduce the strain on Blanding to, have to cover 100% of our stuff, but then they could at least come and do like in-person inspections. If for some reason our job applicants don't work out, I'm very excited that we even have one right now. So many thanks. And yeah, so I think we have some creative ways to handle this, but ultimately, Utah has been passing more and more legislation regarding the requirements of a building official. I think it's very important for the public to recognize, like, it's not just some random person telling you what to do. Like, this person has hours and hours and hours of credentials. We are paying for those credentials. And, we ultimately are trying to help you get the information that you need to go through your project correctly. So I really appreciate everyone's understanding. And yeah, thank you for your patience, but please do not let this stop you from applying for a building permit or reaching out and asking questions, because we do have people in place to handle it in the interim.
and I mean, and the codes and restrictions, being informed, this is a pro-development state, so if even they're doing it, then there's a reason.
Absolutely.
this ain't New Jersey. And you still are, yeah, good point, Britt. So just, because this is a timely thing, we're gonna move forward this kind of administratively. If there are some budget implications, we'll come back to you. We'll keep you in the loop with what we're doing on this, but we're gonna try to fill this role the best we can in an expedited way, and we'll keep you in the loop.
My one concern with the hybrid stuff is I think that maybe since the state did pass the law last year that you have to do your 3-day stuff, that maybe a lot of people are popping up and taking advantage of that. I just want, if we come up with some kind of hybrid thing, I just want it to be crystal clear with those people that we are in the southeastern corner of Utah, and
Absolutely. Yeah, I specifically called out like, hey, legislatively, I need you to, in your little thing to me, you're gonna explain exactly how you're meeting all these requirements, because they're a lot, so. They already, and like I said, there are other firms out there, so if I get a quote and it's like, oh, this is kind of reasonable, we would probably go down that procurement process of looking for other folks, yada, yada. But I'm glad that we've got something in the interim, and but great point.
And it's better than when we started off with all this at the beginning, right? It's like, you gotta do it, no.
Very, in terms of a bad situation, I think it's going as well as it could.
So Second to last thing on our agenda is the March financial report and check register, which was included in, your packet. Welcome any questions about what you were seeing in there, if there's anything of concern or just question for you guys. Okay, last under other, I just have a couple of things, share, just to let you guys know, I kind of said when I started as mayor, I was gonna try to do a quarterly coffee with the mayor, pastries with the mayor, something like that. And I'm scheduled, my next one for May 23rd, at Twin Rocks Cafe at 10 a.m. You guys are welcome to join. If we get a few, I guess we'll notice it as a, a public thing, but it's a very informal discussion. Had good attendance last time, but just people asking questions, introducing themselves, that sort of thing. And then, this coming Monday is the Utah League of Cities and Town training up in Monticello that, folks are coming down for. Would be awesome to have, a couple of folks there. I think we have most of P and Z, or maybe all of P and Z.
No, Brian.
No, Brian. Okay, yeah, except for Brian.
It's okay, Brian.
Coming.
Brian's on right now. Sorry, Brian.
Except for Brian. Coming, but it'd be great. I mean, one of the reasons I think it'd be good for us to have a little bit of a showing there. It's just like we have the league leadership coming down and just good to have Bluff represented. I will be getting off the river and going straight there. I would love to get a ride home with somebody.
What time is it at?
It's at 5 o'clock at the Hideout.
Start,
So-
I think 5:30, 5:30 is when they're officially kicking off. But I think that's more of just like waiting for folks to trickle in. So 5:30, and then I think it's going till 7:30.
Yeah. And I think they were gonna have dinner there. They were gonna have dinner too, right?
Yes, dinner's
They're gonna
included.
have some dinner there, so.
I do need
Well,
RSVPs though,
If
so
if it's Doug's barbecue, who's catering,
I have no idea.
bring an empty stomach.
Yeah, they did the,
They did the business thing and it was a huge plate of food.
Any other quick others that we need to know about?
Water board tomorrow?
Okay, board. The park looks amazing.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna looks amazing, kids and my kiddos. are
Virgil
loving
approves?
it. Oh, yes. Very much approves. So just, huge thanks to that. I'm gonna try to get Quinn to make a public comment saying thanks at some point. But anyways, just big thanks. That's so, and when we were traveling, I was totally like, "Oh, we're about to have one like this," so it was awesome. And it's gonna be great when we host events, because I'm sure you guys have seen it's kind of general dark chaos over there sometimes, so
Yeah,
much safer. This is awesome, great work, so.
I saw a lot. I think Lottie might have been the first
Right.
kid on it over there, and maybe not, I don't know, but she was over there quite early with Linda, and I was thanking Linda for, the fruits of her labor of helping get that going too, so. I think it's like good, people are physically seeing some positives that are coming as a result of us being a town and writing grants and having staff and
Yeah.
roads.
Right.
These are good things, and it's good to remind ourselves when we get the people calling and complaining about their neighbors or whatever it is, like. That's part of a small town, and getting stuff done like this is part of a small town too, so.
So thanks, Malia, you got the grant, right? Or
I helped apply for it. I think Sarah found it though.
was it Utah Outdoor
Yeah, so
Recreation
it's a
grant?
playground committee.
Yeah.
Melissa Eggy, Jennifer Davila, Hannah Whitney, Hiroko Yamamoto, and Sarah Buren.
And it was Utah Outdoor Recreation grant?
Yeah,
Yeah, this was like the first year that they were allowing
Yeah,
for
this
that,
is the
because
first year they
they
did it.
normally, that would be like playground, no, slackline park, yes, which was.
Yeah.
So it's awesome that they allow that.
Well,
They fund a lot of stuff.
It would be really nice, like, for those with kids, if we could get a good picture or two and then do something publicly to thank outdoor recreation. And, that sort of thing goes a long way. I'd be happy to like write a little letter, sign a little letter of thanks or something, like whatever we can do to let those folks know that it's appreciated.
Do they have a grant? Do they have a requirement of the grant? The grant.
Yeah, we still have that sport.
The sport court.
No, we're
Yeah,
still
so
not
That is
completely done.
I'll get that grand opening scheduled. I'm thinking fall, so it's not boiling hot.
do they require a newspaper article too? They had for mine.
I don't-
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
Like, we could, we could put a pic, if we got a decent picture, we could send it up to the San Juan Record and, I'm sure they would they would publish it and then it lets folks know there's a great playground in Bluff
Well,
coming through.
And also the, Allison at the county tourism office likes to know these type of things, cause she can put a flyer out on it, on the, Canyon Country site. Cause, people traveling through it is another reason to stop.
I'll strip this out there right now, Blandy. Think we got a better playground.
Oh, I don't know about that, Josh.
We can start today, right?
Wendy has some pretty incredible playgrounds, so.
So the one I'm thinking of is they have a really nice one in the park south of town. Where's the other one?
Right behind the visitor center.
Yeah, the visitor center park is pretty nice. Actually, the yellow part.
I'm not biased. or anything.
The yellow park at the middle of town is, planning puts some.
I'm gonna say, they have great facilities. We have a new one.
I just want
Yeah.
to thank you for doing the building. Really appreciate it. No, but no,
Hey, friendly, it's.
friendly fire. But no, Malia listed off a bunch of great folks and they are amazing. But Malia, thank you for
Yes.
executing
Yes.
this beautiful vision. It looks so good.
Thank
So good.
Yeah.
And we're not even done yet, so great. Okay, with that, we will consider ourselves adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
5:30 PM. See you next week.
Good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday. Same.